So, there's a phrase, God can dream a bigger dream than you can dream for yourself. I wasn't even dreaming this dream. But when I look at it, it is honestly the best job I've ever had other than the shitty hours. Because I've been up since 3:22, I get up. So my days are long and I do that. And I also am an editor at the Oprah magazine, so I have two, really great jobs. But other than the hours, to be able to think about this, we have a front row seat, Jim, at all times to anything that goes on in the world. Whether it's pop culture, because I'm watching those Real Housewives shows. I'm watching Love and Hip Hop. I'm embarrassed. You have a front row seat to what's going on in TV and entertainment, and especially in politics. And it's live every day. To me, I say it's like working without a net. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. And I like I don't want to say danger of that, because, we have such a great team at CBS that we have a pretty good idea that it's going to come off the way we plan. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. And it's nice knowing that whatever happens, you have a team that we can handle whatever that is.
And so you have the TV, you have the magazine. You obviously are a committed and dedicated mom. How do you slice up? You only have but so much by way of resources, heart and soul. You maintain a lot of friendships. Connections are vitally important here.
Very much so.
So yes. How do you keep all the balls in the air?
Well, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. There isn't. And when Kirby and Will were little, I don't know if anybody here has anybody that's in Little League baseball, but those games can go on frickin' forever. And I can remember being in the stands going, God, somebody win this damn game. And the other mothers were like, Gale. I go, honestly, guys, it's now going into overtime. Oh, God, shoot me. So, you can't, I realized that I couldn't go to every single game, but I went to the games that I knew mattered. And I said to them, I don't want you to feel that because you have a working mom that your life, oh my God, my mother's not here. I really wasn't. I was, we did a story recently about helicopter pilots, and I go, I was not a helicopter pilot, and helicopter mom. And I called them both, and I said, Kirby, do you think I was a helicopter mom? There's dead silence on the phone. She goes, I think I hear choppers. I call Will, and Will goes, what did Kirby say? So, I was very, very involved and very engaged, but also was very happy with my job.
Yeah.
I realized you can't do everything. You can't go to all the stories you want to do. You can't go to all the games you want to do, but we as mothers, as fathers, you figure it out. You figure it out.
Figure it out. I know we have some questions from our broadcast journalism students.
Oh, you have broadcast journalism students, yay.
So
I think it's the greatest industry, and what a great time to come into it, too.
Hi. Anna Valentine.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming
Anna Valentine?
Anna Valentine.
Wow, that's a very cool name.
Thank
Anna
you.
Valentine.
Thank you so much for coming out to Bloomfield College and speaking with everyone here. Congratulations on 5th anniversary of CBS This Morning.
Thanks.
I just want to know, what were your expectations getting into the show, and have those expectations been met yet?
Well, okay. When they came to me, they said, listen, we just want to be competitive. Because CBS was so low. So I didn't have this pressure where they said, you got to go on, we got to be number one, we got to be number two, we got to be number three. They said, we just want to have a competitive broadcast. So I went in with that expectation. I was very nervous that very first day. And it wasn't a nervous of, oh my God, I wonder if I could do this. I was never nervous about that. What I was nervous about is that you just want to do such a good job that you want to knock it out of the park. And I think that when you're starting something new, it's good to have nerves, and it's good to have a fear, and it's good to have excitement, because I think it puts pressure on yourself to really want to nail it. So I was nervous about that. But my expectation was, let's figure out how we can make this a relatable, competitive broadcast. And I think that we've done that. So that was my mission, that was my goal when we first started. And lucky for me, we were all on the same page about that. From the crew, to the suits, to the corporation in LA, to those of us producers who are working on the show. We just want to make it competitive, and we want to make it relevant.
Hello, my name is Robert Friscotti, and I'm a senior communications major at Bloomfield College.
All right.
So you recently did an interview with Dave Chappelle.
I love him.
Something not a lot of people could say at this point in his career. So when you go into an interview with a major talent, what strategies do you use to get the most out of it?
Good question.
Very good question. Well, first, I bugged, AKA begged Dave Chappelle for 2 years for that interview.
2 years?
2 years. 2 years. I started talking to him in 2014. I started talking to him. I went to go see him. He was at Radio City Music Hall. And I went to go see him, and I went backstage just to say hello. And I started talking to him, and I said, Dave, I would really like to do an interview. He goes, oh, no. And I said, why wouldn't you want to do it? He goes, no, I don't have anything to talk about. So I let that go, but I stayed in touch with him. He was very reticent because he didn't want to talk about when he left all those years ago. He's actually kind of shy, if you can believe that. He's kind of shy. And he said, I just want to, when he left the Chappelle Show with $50 million on the table, imagine that. When he left the Chappelle Show all those years ago, and they said he had a breakdown, he cracked up, he was on drugs, he was, just mentally checked out, that he ran to Africa. Guys, he was only in Africa for 2 weeks. And Dave said, I call that a vacation. He was only in, because even I was like, and then you went and you lived in Africa? He goes, no, I was there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? And I said, see, Dave, you should do the interview so we can tell people you were only there for 2 weeks. But I think, to Professor Nutter's point, he really did trust me. I wasn't trying to do a gotcha or say, what the hell was wrong with you? Because I really did want to know what happened, why it happened. But he's been working all this time. He's been living in a little town in Ohio for the past 17 years, a father of 3 kids. So I went into it because I really, really, really liked him. I'd liked him from the Chappelle Show. When I met him in person, when I went backstage, I didn't know him. I was just coming to say hi, and I really like your work, and I'm so glad that you're back on the stage. And the more I talked to him, the more I just thought, oh my God, he's so sweet. And he has such a great, and he's so smart. Half the things with comedians are about, I really do believe that comedy is a sign of intelligence. I really do believe that. And the more I talk to him, and when you listen to his humor, there's some of it where you cringe, go, I don't know, did you have to say that? Which you know what I mean. But the core of this man is really, really good. So, I watched a lot of tapes, I looked at the old Chappelle Show, did a lot of reading about him, but most of it was just talking to him over a 2-year period. And finally, he said yes.
But when you get ready for a big interview, interviews they're like an artificial situation because you're trying to promote intimacy, a sense of intimacy, but there's lights and cameras and people.
There's lots of people in the room.
Yeah, so it's always a very odd thing to establish trust and that sense of intimacy.
Mm-hmm. And it is a dance, too.
So what do you do?
This is the thing, Jim, is everybody likes to talk about themselves.
Yes, they do.
They do. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. And I think that when they trust you, and even on CBS This Morning, I also believe there's no question that can't be asked. There's just a way to ask it. And I never want anybody to feel bad, even if it's an awkward situation or they've done something that isn't cool. You always want people to have their dignity with whatever that is and explain themselves however they want to explain themselves. And so I want people to know that it is a safe place. Even if it's an awkward situation for you, this is a very safe place.
I'm doing a 48 hours hour, and I was just in Southern California.
Did someone die?
Yeah, imagine that. Actually, I flew to LA and had to interview the mother of a convicted killer, and her son had been convicted of killing 4 people. Ooh. And she was a wonderful woman. These were very hardworking Mexican Americans, and their son had been a doctor. We're going to come do a Friday before this. Mm-hmm. You'll love it. You'll love the story. But it was such a heartbreaking thing for me. How old
is your son?
The son was 20. He's in his 40s now, but he had this this troubled history as he bounced out of medical schools and residencies, and you could see that he was deteriorating. And he ended up killing the son of a doctor and a doctor in the department who had been responsible for his termination of his residency.
Wow.
So, and now the mother and the father, the husband and wife there, this was the American dream. Their kid had become a doctor.
Yeah.
And I had to ask her, did your son kill these people?
Yeah.
And I was thinking the whole time, what is the proper way to ask that question? Because you have to be straightforward,
Yeah.
respectful in a way, not try to be too sort of cheap or cheesy about it, but you also have to be compassionate.
Yeah.
So what do
Yeah.
I guess you just...
But he had been convicted.
He had been, but mothers are the last people that are going to believe.
I know, but sometimes that evidence is irrefutable, and even as a mother, you have to say, as difficult as that is. So I would say to her, what do you think happened that day? So I would see what story she's telling so you could see where she's coming from. And then if she says, I don't believe he did it, then you could say, yeah, but the evidence shows da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Why do you think that happened to your son? And the thing I always worry about myself, if my son or daughter did something that was so egregious, Jim, I would so blame myself. Even if they were an adult, I would say, what the hell did I miss? And parents say you should never do that, but I would just think there's some lesson that they didn't get. And I would want to know, does she blame herself? What does she think went wrong?
And I think the important point for aspiring journalists is you have to have a complete and full mastery of the facts.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you leave your heart at home.
That's right.
And you can always bring a sense of compassion to even the hardest, toughest questions.
Always.
It's necessary.
And I also believe that there are always two sides to every story, too, no matter how bad it looks. Ava DuVernay has done this amazing documentary called 13th. And I really am from the school of, in most cases, if you're in prison, there's a reason why you're there. There's a reason why you're in prison. I'm a very law and order kind of girl, a very right and wrong, but I know that there are shades of gray. I get that too. But in the documentary, she tells a story about a kid by the name of Khalif Broder, who was in the New York Rikers Island at 16. And because he was accused of stealing a backpack that he did not steal, and his family couldn't afford to get him out. He was in there for 3 years, guys, where they did horrible things to this kid at Rikers Island. He's only 5'5", 150 pounds. I'm like, I weigh more than that. 5'5", 150 pounds. He gets out, and 2 years later, he commits suicide. And it was so senseless. And I said, well, did he? And even if he had stolen the bag, it just shows you the injustice in the criminal justice system, that it's better to be rich and guilty than poor and innocent in this country. And I looked at that story, and you start looking in the criminal justice system, it's really screwed up. There are a lot of things that need to be changed. But I always think that there are always, I don't care how bad the story looks, there's always two sides to every story.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Jamie Gates, and I just want to know, being that your show, CBS This Morning, is based on a hard news show, how do you appeal over the years to a more basic demographic, broad demographic, excuse me?
How do you what?
How do you appeal to a more broad demographic?
A broad demographic. Well, I mean, it does have a hard news slant, but we're also there to have fun too, Jamie. And I think that there's a way to appeal to all of those. And, our mission is very, very clear. We don't want to take anybody to silly school, but we also like to have fun, and sometimes you can be a little silly. And I find that hokey and corny sometimes works. Hokey and corny sometimes works. And nobody there is trying to be a comedian, but sometimes things will just strike you as very, very funny. There was that football player that had those crazy Versace pants. He's famous. Oh gosh. Cam Newton, yes, thank you. Cam Newton had these crazy, crazy Versace pants. And I'm looking at this crazy thing. I said, wouldn't it be funny if I could get Charlie some of those Versace pants? Just to screw with him to see if he would wear them. And I called Donatella Versace Well, first I called Diane von Furstenberg, who I know, and said, can you give me Donatella Versace's number so I can call her? Anyway, so I was trying to get the pants, Unbeknownst to me, Charlie was trying to get the pants too as a joke. I mean, this guy, you know, he is Charlie Rose, but he is very mischievous and has a great sense of humor. I couldn't get the pants, but Charlie, darned if he didn't come walking in there the next day with those pants. Because I said, oh, I can't get them, I can't get them, I can't get them. He got them and came walking into the studio. I howled because I thought, how did he pull that off? He went, I know people. I'm like, I know people too, and I called Donatella Versace and couldn't get the pants. But my point is, appealing to a broad demographic. People, it was so unexpected. It was so unexpected, it was so fun, it was silly, but it didn't hurt anybody's credibility. It just shows, to Jim's point, that you're human and you have a great sense of humor. And I never think it's wrong to show people you have a sense of humor.
Next question.
Hi, my name is Zach Brown. Earlier
Zach Brown, you know, yes. Zach Brown Band.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that.
I know, I'll bet you've never heard that before.
No,
what did you say?
time.
What did you just say? No, when I said Zach Brown Band, what did you just say?
I said it's an original joke. That's the first time I've ever heard it.
Oh, Zach Brown got shade. Okay, Zach Brown, all right. All right, Zach Brown, I'm going to sit up straighter in my chair to hear this question.
Anyway,
yeah, yes, he does.
You briefly touched on the Trump presidency and his relationship with the media. How has the Trump era affected your reporting, if at all?
Well, it's definitely affected our reporting because we have to be, I think, more diligent in everything that we do. You know, it's interesting that even when there's photographic evidence and there's audio evidence and there's video evidence, you can be told that didn't happen. And then what you have to do is pull out that picture or pull out that audio and then show it again and let people make their decisions for themselves. But it's been I think everybody has said they have never seen anything like it. And every day there's a story like that, every day. And so it'll be interesting to see how this next 4 years goes. Because I think it's a learning curve for him, being in the office of the presidency, and I think it certainly is a learning curve for us. The difference is we know how to tell a story, and we know how to present the facts. So I'm not even going to say that it's difficult. I just think sometimes you just sit there and say, but we have that video that says X, Y, and Z, but we have that audio, or we have, and what you do is you keep showing it. Scott Pelley, by the way, has been genius. I don't know if you've been watching CBS This Morning. They did it. I just want to find this article because where they talked about Scott Pelley and how he's been covering the news. Did you see this in the Washington Post?
No, I didn't see the Post article, but he's been doing he's really been
but the way,
calling it.
Yes, he's really been calling it, and the way that they phrased how he's doing it, I thought was very, very, very genius. Let me try and see if I can remember. He said, once again...
divorce from the facts?
Yes, divorce from reality.
Divorce from reality.
Divorce from reality.
Yeah.
Now, that and divorce from reality and the facts. He's had a couple of things like that, which really get the point across.
And this is a guy who is so careful about every syllable.
Syllable is the word, too.
Yeah.
Every checks, rechecks, and I think everybody is sort of trying to navigate their way how they're going to do it.
Did you know Donald Trump from around town?
I was at his wedding.
You were?
Yes, I was at the wedding with me and Melania.
So, Gayle,
I was there at Mar-a-Lago.
I have heard this.
So I've known him a long time.
And I've heard this from folks who have known him a long time. They don't recognize the cartoon character from the guy they knew and might have been at their wedding. What's that all about?
Well, listen, he has a very healthy ego. He does. He has a very healthy ego, and he likes to point that out. But I'm telling you, I had a great time at the wedding. I've known him a long time. I covered when Barron was born for the Oprah show, and went and did a story with Donald and Melania in their apartment, in their gorgeous, gorgeous place, and little baby Barron. So it is fascinating to watch. And I believe too that he wants to do a good job. I do believe that, but I think that there's something about when you it's different when you're a candidate than when you take the office. And your words matter, and your words have a lot of power. And that those tweets really, really matter. Do you know those tweets could actually start a war coming from the President of the United States? And so, and it scares me sometimes when you think of the power that that office holds. That said, I have great respect for the office of the presidency. I have great respect for that. Regardless of who's in the office, I have great respect for the office of the presidency. And I don't want us to lose sight of that. I hate all the bickering and the snarkiness and the partisanship. You know, I don't believe that because you're a Democrat, you're the only ones that have great ideas. I don't think that because you're a Republican, you're the only ones that have great ideas. We have to figure out a way to stop this tit-for-tat culture. And we are so ingrained in a tit-for-tat culture. It was like that when Barack Obama was in office, too. You know, when he first took the office, the Republicans said, we're not going to let anything he does.
Mitch McConnell.
Yes, we're not going to let anything he does succeed.
And that you have a congressman standing up saying, you lie.
In the State of the Union address. And you know why that was so painful to me? A, it was the President of the United States talking. Let's just start with that. The President of the United States talking. But on some level, that congressman knew that he could say that and there would be no price to pay. Because otherwise, if you think you're going to speak out that way and your colleagues are going to slam you or you're going to be ostracized, you would not do that. And that was very painful to me. I would have felt that regardless of who was in the office, the disrespect that was shown Barack Obama that night in that moment. But how did he handle it, though? How did he handle it? He just looked at him and he kept right on. Right.
He went high.
There was a little thing, though, on his temple that came out. There's a little thing on his temple that came out, but he was a class act. He was a class, and he remained a class act the whole time that he was in office. He remained a class act.